Hey students, this is the first video in our series on science and faith. Now, one of the questions we get a lot around Elias during our Q&A time are questions around science and Christianity. Can you believe in science and what your science teacher is saying, and can you believe what your pastor is saying on a Sunday as well? And believe it or not, I think that's a great question. Most scientists believe that the Earth is 4.5 billion years old. And you're most likely learning that at school. And yet, the Bible starts off with this strange story about God creating the world in 7 days. And if you do the math on that, that makes our world less than 10,000 years old. And so that's a huge difference, right? If your science teacher is saying it's 4.5 billion years old and the Bible seems to be saying that it's less than 10,000 years old, then which do you believe? And I think so often we think we're forced to make that choice. I can either believe science or I can believe the Bible, but I can't believe them both. There's a lot of scholars who think Genesis 1 is actually not a scientific account of the origins of the universe. They believe that Genesis 1 is all about God creating order and function and purpose in our world, not stuff. So don't get me wrong, the Bible does teach that God created everything, all of the stuff that you see, your body, the planet, the stars. God created it all. John 1 tells us that. Hebrews chapter 1 tells us that. God created everything through Jesus. But I don't think Genesis 1 is trying to say, it's not trying to give an account of all of the stuff that God made. In fact, one scholar put it this way: Genesis chapter 1, that creation account is all about God's presence here in the world. It's about God ordering this world to work perfectly together according to divine wisdom so that He could inhabit this world with us. Because God made us in His image to enjoy this world with Him. And we're going to talk about that in next week's video. But before we do so, I want to end with this illustration, and I hope this helps kind of clarify the point a little bit. Imagine that you had never seen a car before. And somebody drives a car up to you and you're amazed, right? You've never seen a car, look at this thing. And naturally, you want to know how the car works. Well, what they would likely do is they would pop the hood of the car, they would turn the car on, and you would be able to see the engine running. And they may point to certain things in the engine and say, hey, here's what that is, here's what this is, here's how they work together, and here's how they make the car run. And you would naturally learn something about the car in the process. But no matter how long you stared at that engine, it could never tell you why the car exists. So if that person said, here's how the car works, therefore, here's why the car exists, you would look at them and go, no, the engine of this car cannot tell me the purpose of the car. I need the creator of the car to tell me its purpose. And maybe you can think of it that way. Science answers the how questions of life. How does gravity work? How do white blood cells work? How does my brain work? Whereas the Bible answers the why questions of life. Why am I here? Why does all of this exist? Why is there a world? Why is there something rather than nothing? So science answers the how questions of life. The Bible answers the why questions of life. And I don't know about you, but I think those are both really necessary questions to ask and really necessary questions to receive answers for. So science is useful. It's this incredible tool that we have to better understand how the world works, but it can do nothing to tell us why we are here. We need the Bible to tell us that. Science answers questions the Bible isn't trying to ask. And the Bible answers questions that science cannot answer. And so we're going to continue this discussion below. And if you would, follow along there as we unpack this topic of science and faith and how we can actually hold both of those things together.